Hi, this is Barbara Schlichting, and I'm here to read the first few pages from Spangled to Death. And I'm starting in chapter 2, kind of in the middle, and if you've been watching and listening all along, you'll know that Liv is missing clothes from her White House Dollhouse store, and a purchaser came from New York, and she's missing from that woman took stuff, and things are just getting kind of goofy. So we're starting where she's talking to her two employees and is continuing on with her day. And then in the evening, then she has to find out more of what's going on. We're short a Madison outfit, I replied. Next, tell me you're interested in a large room below. Curiosity, that's all. Why are you asking me this? Dory glanced at Max, who shrugged. Dory and Max are employees. I'm curious too, I said. Minnesota Nice will check the camera. Good, I don't want to know the code. Dory said, I don't plan to be a suspect if something else should arise. Well, that sounds good, I replied. I hope Jackie will return tomorrow and purchase several houses. Let's first do an inventory on the other dolls to see if any other dolls or outfits are missing. When finished, start assembling the historical dollhouse. I need at least 2, if not 3. Have you touched them, Max said. No, that's the way they were when I entered. And someone has been here, Max said. I'm going to take the doll heads upstairs. I need to put finishing touches on them before you can paint them. I also need a bit of a shut-eye. I'll make sure I tell Aaron and a detective about the doll heads. How strange, Dory said. Agreed. Someone needs to be out front, I said. That's where you'll find me. Dory? Yes, I'll get started with the inventory. I left the two to their own devices and walked out to the display room and went straight to the sampler. I stared at the design once again. There must be a hidden meaning to the strawberry borders and the American flag, but what? The interior embroidery with the birth, death, and marriage of James and Dolly Madison was factual. On the top right corner was the American flag, the only one with 13 stars and stripes. Why only one flag? The sampler was handed down through the ages and Grandma inherited. Next person in line is me. Grandma always treasured it. Does the sampler have anything to do with the family secret? The sides were different. 6 strawberries on one side, 7 on the other, but across the bottom there were 13. Why 13? Is it because of the flag? Because of the War of 1812? I'm back to the same questions that have perplexed me my whole life. Mom could never answer, and neither can Grandma, about the number 13 and only one flag. I frowned and turned toward the tables. The nearest table had the Theodore Roosevelt dollhouse, and I walked toward it. Mrs. Roosevelt, keep your eye on Teddy. He's looking peaked from his travels, I said. I stood near the modern house. It appears as if Michelle Obama winked at me, so I returned one. Mrs. Eisenhower, you look simply smashing today in pink. I glanced around at the ladies. Time for me to get busy. Before getting started on the day's chores, I placed a call to Detective Erlinson and relayed the information about the doll heads being out of position. He took the message and we disconnected. Finally, the day afforded me time to check my email messages and Facebook, so I went ahead and took care of them. When I completed the task, I logged into my order account and clicked the close number and amount needed to complete the order. I'd ordered extra of the Madisons with the one odd item for Mr. Madison. I logged out. A customer entered. Good afternoon. Who is your favorite First Lady? Gosh, I really don't know. I've loved most of them, she said. May I look around? Of course. Any questions, just holler. My curiosity hadn't subsided. I twirled a curl around my finger as I thought about Jackie and all that had transpired during her visit. Perplexed, puzzled, I didn't know what to think. As I pondered whether or not a Google search needed performing about Jackie and tracing the Dolly Madison family tree, the customer motioned me over. She stood near the historical White House model. How may I help you? I asked. The lady towered over me, of course. Most people did, since I was a slight 5 feet tall. Her hair was as black as mine was red. This is a historical house, the first model of our nation's house. Did Martha Washington live here? The woman asked. No, I shook my head. The poor woman lived in a rented house in New York City down by the waterfront. She never did live in our house. However, a parcel of land was donated by George for the project of building our White House. During his second term, they resided in Philadelphia. How interesting. You're quite informed. Thank you. The woman thought a moment and said, do you happen to have a dollhouse of the building in Philadelphia? No, unfortunately. Actually, I should look into it because every so often someone queries about it. Let me give you my card. I love dollhouses, you see. If and when you are able to obtain one of the Philadelphia residents and the dolls, I'd really like to purchase them. Thank you, I said. I took the offered card and read that she was a librarian at the Minnesota History Center. Will do. I think I'll ask around a bit more. If I have any questions, I'll ask. Okay. I went back to sit by the desk and started a new search about Martha and George Washington and where their residence was located in Philadelphia. The search brought me to the row of buildings where the Continental Congress met, Independence Hall, Liberty Bell, and a bunch of other sites, including Betsy Ross's house and Dolly Madison's home. I felt a sudden kinship with the city because of Dolly's home. I had known that her mother ran a boarding house there after Dolly's father passed away, and that Dolly had lived there until her marriage to James Madison. Dolly had lost her husband and an infant from the yellow fever outbreak that had raged in Philadelphia in 1793. She was left to care for her son, John Payne Todd, who was a mere 1 year old. Continuing with my search, I was unable to locate a manufacturer of the president's house, so I sent an inquiry message to my dollhouse manufacturers about the matter. Now all I could do was wait for the response. Afterward, I opened the orders online for presidential and first lady dolls. I found a place that made outfits for 6-inch dolls of the Washingtons, so I ordered 5 sets. I closed out and went to the workroom to check on Dory. How's it going? Dory stood with the extra outfit in hand. We're definitely missing James Madison. Yes, I reordered outfits and an extra Madison. How about the houses? I glanced over at the larger table only to see a few boxes set out. It looks like you haven't started assembling. Max is in the apartment, remember? Oh, yes. I was disturbed that she hadn't at least started assembling the houses since it had been a few hours. I needed at least 2 or more houses when Jackie showed tomorrow, if she does arrive. Let's you and I get started. I've got class. Okay, but can you return later to help set up the houses? Sure. What time? 8. See you then. I watched as she grabbed her belongings and put on her coat and cap before leaving. The door shut with a bang. I was totally upset with the day. The only bright spot was a customer inquiring about Martha Washington. I glanced at the clock. It was time to close up and go home. I sent Max a message telling him I planned to go home and come back later with Aaron. Would assemble houses at that time. I jumped into my old Ford Focus and drove home. I had lived with my parents since the death of my parents in a car accident when I was 11. That was 20 years ago. One summer vacation, my parents took me to Washington, D.C. Dad had a hard time peeling Mom and me away from the First Lady exhibit. As a young girl, I loved dolls and selling doll houses, and First Ladies seemed a natural step. Now it helped me keep my mom's memory alive. This is Spangled to Death, Barbara Schlichting. Thank you.